Okay, in this video, we're going to pit the HP TouchPad versus the Apple iPad 2. Now, this video is going to be different than the series of videos where I pitted the Apple iPad 2 against the Motorola Xoom, because in those series of videos, I actually scored the fight. I told you how many points were awarded to what tablet, and then I told you what my choice was at the end. Some people consider that a little controversial. Remember, the purpose of these videos is not to start a holy war. I'm not rooting for a team here. I just want to provide you the information to make an informed decision when you're going to go out and purchase one of these devices. So what we're going to do in this video is we're actually going to go feature for feature on each device, and we're going to pit them head to head in certain examples, and we're going to decide who the definitive winner is in certain instances. Then you can decide for yourself which points should count and which points shouldn't count. At the end of the video, I'll tell you my conclusion and I'll tell you which device I prefer. In the comments down below, it's up to you to tell me where you stand on this, how you score this, what matters to you. Because again, this video is here to help you. I've already made my decision. My mind doesn't need to be changed. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's start it up. Now the first thing, we're going to go spec for spec on each device here. And when you're talking specs, most of the time you have a definitive advantage one side or the other. Now to start things off, the HP TouchPad runs WebOS 3.0. The Apple iPad 2 runs iOS 4.3. As you'll notice, the form factor on both devices is very similar. In fact, they both have the same screen size. It's a 9.7-inch screen. So that's pretty much a wash. They actually have the same resolution screen as well. 768 by 1024. And both devices have the same aspect ratio. So you have a 3:4 aspect ratio on each device here. So far, we're running neck and neck. Now, the processor on each device is different. So that's going to be a little bit more of a gray area. That's going to fall into the actual performance of the device. But just so you know, the Apple iPad 2 runs a 900 megahertz dual-core ARM Cortex-A9 processor. And it also has some graphics capabilities along with it as well. The HP TouchPad, on the other hand, runs a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core Qualcomm Snapdragon processor. So on paper, you have a higher powered processor in the HP TouchPad. But since they are different processors, you can't necessarily say which one is better. The best way to go is just see what the performance is on each device. So again, still neck and neck. Now the Apple iPad 2 has 512 megabytes of RAM. Now the HP TouchPad has double of that. It has 1 gigabyte of RAM. So right there you have a definite advantage for the HP TouchPad. Does it matter? That's up to you. Now for this demonstration, I have a 16 gigabyte version here and a 16 gigabyte version here. But as far as options go, you have more options on the Apple iPad. Not only does it come in two colors, white and black, but you also have 6 different SKUs for it in each color. So in total you have 12 different options for the Apple iPad. Currently you only have 2 different options for the HP TouchPad. So that's an advantage for the iPad 2. Does it matter? You decide. Now as far as the cameras go, you have 2 cameras on the Apple iPad 2, a front-facing camera, and then you have one on the back of the device. On the HP TouchPad, you only have 1 camera, a front-facing camera. The front-facing camera on the HP TouchPad is a 1.3 megapixel camera. The resolution on the Apple iPad front camera and rear camera is a VGA camera, so that's less than 1 megapixel. So as far as cameras go, you have 2 lesser quality cameras over here. You have 1 greater quality camera here. Who gets the point? You decide. Next category is battery. The HP TouchPad has a 6,300 milliamp battery. The Apple iPad 2 has a 6,930 milliamp battery. So the battery on the Apple iPad 2 is bigger and has a bigger capacity. I can tell you right now from personal experience, you get more use off of the battery charge on the Apple iPad 2 than you will on an HP TouchPad. On the HP TouchPad, you're going to be charging it more often than you will the Apple iPad 2. I've found that you can get about a day or two on the HP TouchPad. With the Apple iPad, you get more than that. Does battery life matter to you? If so, the Apple iPad gets the point. If not, then it doesn't matter. Again, you decide. Now on to the actual device thickness. They're actually very similar in size. You have both same screens, bezels are pretty much the same width. In fact, let me just show you here, both devices on top of one another. You can't really see this here, but the Apple iPad is possibly a hair longer than the HP TouchPad, and the HP TouchPad is about a hair wider. So they're very comparable in size. Now this isn't always the easiest thing to do, but that is the width of the devices there. The Apple iPad 2, the thickness of it, when I say width I mean thickness, the thickness is 8.8 millimeters thick. The thickness on the HP TouchPad is 13.7 millimeters thick. So it's just short of 5 millimeters thicker is the HP TouchPad. So does the thickness of the tablet matter to you? It's a strange question, but does it matter to you? If so, the Apple iPad gets a point because it's thinner, but again, you decide. Now weight. A lot of people might be concerned about the weight of the devices because you're actually holding them for long periods of time. This version of the Apple iPad 2 is 601 grams. It's basically just the basic Wi-Fi version. It can actually grow to 613 grams if you go with an AT&T device because the wireless radio in there makes it a little bit heavier, about by 12 grams. The HP TouchPad is 640 grams. So it's 139 grams heavier than the Apple iPad 2. If that matters to you, the Apple iPad 2 gets the point. Okay, the last thing that we're going to cover before we actually fire up each of these devices and pit them head to head is the speakers on each of them. Now on the HP TouchPad you have stereo speakers, and you have one here and one here, right on the side here, on the ridge. Okay? It includes Beats audio, so you get good quality out of the speakers here, or if you plug in a headset. On the Apple iPad 2, you have one mono speaker down here, okay? Right on the beveled edge here. Of course, if you plug in headphones into the Apple iPad 2, you're going to get stereo, but if you don't use headphones, you're going to get mono sound out of it. So for this category, obviously, the HP TouchPad has better quality audio. Does it matter to you? You decide. Okay, now we get to the good part. I'm going to fire up both devices and we're going to pit them head to head, feature for feature. Now before I do that, I just want to comment on something here. If you look at both devices, they're very similar in the way they place the controls. You have a button down here, you have a button down here, you have a front-facing camera here, you have a front-facing camera here, you have the power button here, you have your volume rocker here, your volume rocker here. The only things that are different are obviously the speakers and the rear-facing camera. But other than that, very similar placement on the devices. And supposedly the guy who's behind WebOS, John Rubinstein, he actually was the man who created the first iPod way back when. But he left Apple long before the iPad ever came out. He says he's never had an iPhone, and he's never had an iPad. But there's a lot of similarities in the form factor of these devices. Same aspect ratio, same screen resolution, and like I said, controls are in a lot of the same areas. So, be that as it may, make your own conclusions of that. But let's get down to business, let's fire these devices up, and see which one powers up faster. Okay, now hopefully I can get both of these buttons pressed at the same time, so bear with me here. 3, 2, 1. We saw the Apple pop up first, and then the HP. Apple iPad is up, ready to go. Okay. HP TouchPad is finally up with a little tone, a nice little tone there. Now you're greeted with a lock screen here on the Apple iPad 2. You are not with the HP TouchPad. Now you could actually put a key code into this device here. If you'd like, you could do a password or a number key. You can do the same with the Apple iPad as well. Obviously, the Apple iPad 2 fires up quicker, so that wins this round. Does it matter? Again, you decide.